In the summer of 2026, Texas is facing a crisis that many people drive past every single day, but rarely stop to see. Across cities like Houston, Dallas, and Austin, temperatures are rising beyond 100 degrees Fahrenheit, turning streets, sidewalks, and highways into waves of relentless heat. For most people, escaping the heat is simple. Step indoors, turn on the air conditioner, and wait for the sun to go down. But for thousands of people living without shelter, there is no escape. They sleep under highway bridges, inside tents, or on the bare concrete, where the heat doesn't just make life uncomfortable, it threatens survival itself. In one of the richest countries in the world, more and more people are finding themselves trapped between extreme heat, rising housing costs, and a system struggling to keep up. So the question is, how did the booming cities of Texas become places where thousands are burned by the heat and forgotten by the system? This is the reality of the Texas homeless crisis in 2026. If stories like this matter to you, consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel. It helps bring attention to the human realities behind homelessness in America and supports more documentaries that explore the stories often left unseen. Because sometimes, understanding begins with simply taking a closer look. Before we continue, if you care about real stories like this and want to understand the realities many people face across America, make sure to subscribe to the channel and like this video. Your support helps us continue sharing powerful stories that often go unseen. Now, let's take a closer look at how the Texas homeless crisis in 2026 is affecting thousands of lives every single day. Chapter 1. Texas is growing fast, but not everyone is moving forward. How rising housing costs are quietly pushing thousands onto the streets. At first glance, Texas looks like a place built on opportunity. Across cities like Houston, Dallas, and Austin, construction cranes stretch above the skyline. New apartment complexes rise along highways, tech companies expand their offices, and thousands of new residents arrive each year chasing the promise of a better life. From a distance, it feels like progress, a state growing stronger, faster, and wealthier. But beneath that growth, another story is quietly unfolding. As these cities expand, the cost of living is rising just as quickly. Over the past decade, rent prices in many parts of Texas have surged dramatically. Apartments that once cost $800 or $900 per month now demand well over $1,500. For many working people, the math simply doesn't work anymore. A warehouse worker, a restaurant employee, or a delivery driver may work full-time and still struggle to keep up with rent that continues to climb each year. And when life throws an unexpected challenge, a medical emergency, a car breakdown, or the loss of a job, the fragile balance holding everything together can collapse. Across Texas, outreach organizations are meeting more people who never imagined they would experience homelessness. Some had stable jobs only months earlier. Others were raising families or paying off debts. But when housing becomes more expensive faster than wages can rise, the margin for error disappears. And slowly, in the shadows of booming skylines, a different reality begins to grow. Not in the new luxury apartments or glass office towers, but on sidewalks, in cars, and beneath highway bridges. Because while Texas continues to expand, thousands of people are discovering that growth does not always guarantee a place to live. Chapter 2. Living outside in 100 heat. When the Texas sun turns the streets into a daily survival test. By late morning, the Texas heat begins to settle over the city like a heavy blanket. In places like Houston and San Antonio, temperatures during the summer regularly climb past 100 degrees Fahrenheit. The concrete sidewalks absorb that heat throughout the day, turning streets, parking lots, and metal railings into burning surfaces. For most people, the solution is simple. Step indoors. Turn on the air conditioner. Wait for the sun to go down. But for thousands of people living without shelter, there is no indoor escape. Under a highway bridge in Houston, a man named Carlos slowly pours a bottle of water over his head. The water is already warm, but it's the only relief he has found after hours spent sitting in the shade of a concrete pillar. His small tent, patched together with pieces of tarp and rope, barely protects him from the sun. By noon, the air inside it becomes too hot to breathe comfortably. So like many others living outside, Carlos spends most of the day searching for shade. A narrow strip beside a building, a patch of shadow under a bridge, sometimes the cooling breeze from a passing train. For people experiencing homelessness in Texas, survival often revolves around one simple routine: finding water, finding shade, and making it through the hottest hours of the day. Because heat doesn't just make life uncomfortable, it slowly drains the body. Dehydration builds quietly, sleep becomes difficult, energy fades faster than it can recover. Outreach workers across Texas often describe summer as the most dangerous season for people living on the streets. Ambulances respond to heat exhaustion. Hospitals treat dehydration cases that could have been prevented with something as simple as shade and clean water. Yet every day, thousands of people remain outside under the same relentless sun. And as temperatures continue to rise each year, one uncomfortable question begins to surface. If the heat alone can threaten survival, what happens when someone has no place to escape it? Chapter 3. When a home disappears overnight. The hidden chain of events that pushes ordinary people into homelessness. For many people living on the streets of Texas, homelessness did not begin with a single dramatic moment. It began quietly, sometimes with a letter on the door, sometimes with a phone call from work, sometimes with a hospital bill that arrived at the worst possible time. In cities like Dallas and Austin, the rising cost of housing has created a fragile reality for thousands of working residents. Rent payments consume larger portions of monthly income, leaving little room for emergencies. For someone living paycheck to paycheck, stability can disappear faster than anyone expects. Take someone like Anthony. For nearly 8 years, he worked maintenance at a small apartment complex in Dallas. The job paid modestly, but it covered rent and groceries. Life was simple, but stable. Then one winter, the company changed management. Several workers were let go. Anthony was one of them. At first, he believed it would only be temporary. He spent weeks searching for another job, but savings began to disappear quickly. Rent payments fell behind. Late notices started arriving. Within 2 months, the apartment he had lived in for years was no longer his. Now his belongings fit inside 2 large backpacks and a small cart he pushes through the streets. Stories like Anthony's are becoming increasingly common across Texas. According to housing advocates, many people experiencing homelessness today were employed not long ago. Some were parents raising children. Others were retirees whose fixed income could no longer keep up with rising rent. But once housing is lost, rebuilding stability becomes incredibly difficult. Without a permanent address, applying for jobs becomes harder. Without transportation, reaching opportunities becomes another challenge. And without stable shelter, every day begins with the same question: where will I sleep tonight? Because homelessness rarely begins with one single failure. More often, it is the result of a chain reaction, small crises stacking on top of each other until the safety net finally breaks. And when it does, the road back can feel impossibly long. Which raises a difficult question: if one unexpected crisis can unravel an entire life, how many people are closer to homelessness than they realize? Chapter 4. Lives packed into shopping carts. What daily survival really looks like on the streets of Texas. By the time afternoon arrives, the streets grow quieter in some corners of Texas cities. Not because people have left, but because they are hiding from the heat. Under an overpass in Houston, a small group of tents stands between concrete pillars. Pieces of tarp flap gently in the hot wind, tied carefully with ropes and wires. Each tent tells a story. Beside one of them sits a shopping cart filled with blankets, clothes, and plastic bags tied tightly together. For the person who owns it, that cart holds everything left of their life. Photographs, documents, extra socks, sometimes even medication. On the streets, possessions must stay mobile, because nothing here is permanent. Encampments are often cleared with little notice. Police or city crews arrive early in the morning, asking people to pack up their belongings and move somewhere else. Within minutes, lives carefully arranged under bridges or along sidewalks must disappear again. So people learn to travel light. A backpack, a cart, maybe a bicycle. For many living outside, the day begins before sunrise. The early morning hours are the only time when temperatures feel somewhat manageable. People search for food from local outreach groups, churches, or nearby shelters. Others collect bottles and cans to exchange for small amounts of money. Every action becomes part of a routine built around survival. Where to find water, where to charge a phone, where to rest without being asked to move again. And yet, despite the harshness of life on the streets, small communities often form among those living there. People share information about food distributions, watch over each other's belongings, and warn one another when city cleanups are scheduled. In a place where stability is rare, these small connections become a form of protection. But they also reveal something deeper. Because when someone's entire life can fit inside a shopping cart, it forces us to confront a difficult reality. How much can a person lose before society finally begins to notice? Chapter 5. A system struggling to catch people before they fall. Why help often arrives too late for those already on the streets. Across Texas, programs exist that are meant to prevent people from losing their homes. Emergency rental assistance, temporary shelters, housing support programs. On paper, these systems are designed to catch people before they fall into homelessness. But in reality, many people say the help often arrives too late. In cities like Dallas and Houston, housing assistance programs receive thousands of applications every year. Families struggling to pay rent often turn to these services hoping for support before eviction notices arrive. Yet demand has grown far faster than resources. Many programs operate with limited funding and long waiting lists. Approval processes can take weeks, sometimes months, time that many struggling households simply do not have. For someone already behind on rent, even a short delay can mean losing their home. And once that happens, the situation becomes far more difficult to fix. Shelters in major Texas cities often operate near full capacity, especially during extreme weather. Beds fill quickly, leaving many individuals with no choice but to remain outside. Others avoid shelters altogether because of strict rules, limited space for belongings, or concerns about safety. So instead, they stay where they feel they have some control, even if that place is under a bridge or in a small tent beside the road. Outreach workers across the state describe a system that tries to help but struggles to keep up with the scale of the problem. Because while cities grow and housing prices rise, the safety nets meant to protect vulnerable residents have not expanded at the same pace. And that gap leaves thousands of people standing in a difficult space between need and assistance. A place where help technically exists, but often arrives after the damage has already been done. Which leads to another uncomfortable question. If support systems are meant to prevent homelessness, why are so many people still slipping through them? Chapter 6. The Hidden Health Crisis of Living Without Shelter. How life on the streets slowly breaks the body and the mind. Living outside in Texas is not only exhausting, it slowly wears down the human body. Under the relentless heat in cities like San Antonio and Houston, people experiencing homelessness face health risks that many housed residents rarely think about. Dehydration becomes a daily threat. Without regular access to clean water, the body struggles to stay balanced in temperatures that often climb above 100 degrees Fahrenheit during summer months. Even mild dehydration can quickly become dangerous when someone spends hours walking under the sun, searching for shade or food. Sleep is another challenge. For someone living on the streets, restful sleep is rare. Noise from traffic, fear of theft, and the constant need to stay alert often mean people sleep only a few hours at a time. Over weeks and months, exhaustion builds, and with exhaustion comes illness. Many individuals living outside struggle with untreated medical conditions, diabetes, infections, respiratory issues, and injuries that never fully heal. Without stable housing, even basic medical care becomes difficult to maintain. Keeping medications safe, attending regular doctor visits, finding transportation to clinics. These simple steps become complicated when someone has no permanent place to live. Mental health struggles are also common. The stress of daily survival, combined with isolation and uncertainty, can weigh heavily on anyone. Anxiety, depression, and trauma often deepen when someone spends long periods without stability or support. Yet despite these hardships, outreach workers often witness remarkable resilience. People share food with each other. They warn others about dangerous areas. They look out for neighbors sleeping nearby. In places where life feels fragile, small acts of care quietly hold communities together. But these realities reveal a deeper truth. Because when health begins to decline on the streets, the path back to stability becomes even harder. And that raises another difficult question. If homelessness slowly damages both body and mind, how can recovery truly begin without a safe place to heal? Chapter 7. When public spaces become the only place left to go. The growing tension between survival on the streets and city life. In many Texas cities, public spaces have quietly become places of last resort. Parks, sidewalks, and highway underpasses in areas like Austin and Dallas are no longer only places for recreation or daily routines. For many people experiencing homelessness, they are the only spaces left where someone can rest, sleep, or store their belongings. This creates a difficult balance. Families visit parks expecting quiet afternoons. Workers pass through downtown streets on their way to offices. But in the same spaces, individuals without housing try to find a small corner where they won't be asked to move again. City officials often respond with cleanup operations or camping restrictions. Tents are removed, belongings are packed up, and people are told to relocate. Yet the problem rarely disappears. It simply moves somewhere else. Because when someone has nowhere permanent to go, every public space becomes temporary. And this raises a difficult question for cities across Texas. If public spaces are the last refuge for those without homes, where are they supposed to go next? The human stories behind the numbers. Why the Texas homeless crisis is ultimately about people, not statistics. When people talk about homelessness, the conversation often turns to numbers. How many people are living on the streets? How many shelter beds exist? How many housing units are needed? But behind every statistic is a human story. In cities like Houston and Dallas, thousands of individuals wake up each morning not knowing where they will sleep that night. Some once had stable careers. Others were raising families or caring for loved ones. For many, homelessness was never something they imagined could happen to them. Yet, life can change quickly. A job disappears. A medical bill arrives. Savings run out. And suddenly, the world that once felt secure becomes uncertain. Despite these challenges, many people living on the streets continue to show quiet resilience. They share food with neighbors, protect each other's belongings, and form small communities built on survival and mutual support. These moments remind us that homelessness is not simply about housing, it is about dignity, stability, and the basic human need for safety. And perhaps the most important question we must ask is this: if stability can disappear so quickly for some people, what responsibility do communities have to ensure no one is left completely behind? A crisis we can see, but still struggle to solve. What the future of Texas says about the future of America. As the sun slowly sets across Texas, the heat begins to fade from the streets. In cities like Houston, Dallas, and Austin, lights begin to glow in apartment windows and office towers. Restaurants fill with conversation. Traffic moves steadily through the evening, and most people return to the comfort of their homes. But just a few blocks away, another reality begins. Under highway bridges, inside small tents, and along quiet sidewalks, thousands of people prepare to spend another night outside. For them, survival is measured in simple things: finding water, finding shade, finding a place that feels safe enough to rest. The Texas homeless crisis is not just about housing shortages or rising rent. It reveals how fragile stability can become when systems fail to keep up with the realities people face. Because homelessness rarely begins with one single moment. More often, it grows slowly, through rising costs, unexpected hardships, and safety nets that struggle to catch people before they fall. Yet even within this crisis, there are stories of resilience: neighbors sharing food, volunteers delivering water during extreme heat, organizations working quietly to help people rebuild their lives step by step. These moments remind us that behind every statistic is a human story. And perhaps the most important question is not only how this crisis happened, but what kind of future we choose to build next. If this story helped you see the reality of homelessness from a deeper perspective, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel. Your support helps bring attention to stories that are often overlooked and allows us to continue sharing the real human experiences behind homelessness across America. Because sometimes, understanding begins with simply choosing to look closer.